Well, this is the week of the big shift that I've been talking about as Uranus, the god of lightning, leaves his role as a warrior in the sign of Aries, and he moves into being a rather down-to-earth Taurus bull. So as of this Wednesday, March the 6th, we are done with the rebellious freedom fighter who arrived on the world stage in the sign of Aries in March 11th, 2011, the Arab Spring. And we've certainly had lots of shakeups, lots of beheading of dictators, lots of rebellion since then. And the ground we stand on now with the god of lightning in the sign of Taurus, it's shaking. We can feel the thunderous pounding of a runaway and a sometimes raging bull that will be with us for the 7 years ahead. Hi, I'm Judith Royal, archetypal astrologer, and this is your astrology weather forecast for the week of March 4th through the 10th, 2019. Isn't it just like the god of lightning to put together a really big show for his shift? And that is really true because there is a cluster of surrounding effects that are going to make this turning point this week quite extraordinary. First, just before Uranus finishes his time in Aries, on March 5th, this Tuesday, is sort of Mardi Gras Tuesday, a lot happening. But on Tuesday, Mercury, the messenger planet of communications, the winged traveler you see on the side of the FTD Florist delivery trucks, he is swimming in the poetic waters of Pisces. And when he goes retrograde Tuesday, March 5th, he's taking a deep dive to the bottom of the ocean, plumbing the depths of the unconscious mind. That's what he would like to lead us into, and bringing to the surface what has remained hidden until now. Mercury's journey along the ocean floor will last until March 28th when he turns direct. So in between, we can be scavengers of ideas that we have overlooked, sparkling synchronicities perhaps that we missed will rise to the surface again and come up for review, because retrograde just means that we are reviewing and that we are retracing our steps. And Mercury retrograde especially means that what we really want in this time period is to hear our own inner voice, not the noise of the outside world. Now, we may not see the whole picture of what this retrograde period is going to bring us until April 16th, because that's when Mercury sort of closes this big loop and returns to exactly the same spot where he began going retrograde on March 5th. So Mercury's going to also, during this particular retrograde period, do something rather unusual, which is that he's going to make a rapid descent in orbit across the path of the sun, the ecliptic. And that means that March 21st to March 30th will be the most challenging part of this retrograde period, and we can expect the most heavy interruptions in external communications. But at the same time, we have a deep richness waiting for us in our own inner voice and our own exploration of our inner world. The third and crowning event this week in the cluster of shifts is the new moon in Pisces that also comes this Wednesday, March 6th. And it has the effect, we hope, of moistening that Taurus soil. And it definitely is inviting us to plant the seeds of our future. Now, new moons always are a good time to plant new seeds, but this time we're in that 12th house of Pisces, which is in fact a burial ground, meaning nothing morbid, but rather we are scavenging that ocean floor, digging up what might be in our own personal Davy Jones locker is treasures, because what we have denied, what we have repressed about ourselves can never, first of all, it can never come into the light to be forgiven, and it can never come in, therefore, to the surface to be let go. So the burial ground is actually such a gift, because this is where we literally let go of the past and that we make room for something new to grow. But the growth in Pisces is no ordinary growth. It is actually transformation. So I was thinking about how I could wrap all of this enormous events into one story that might let you see how this affects you and what the meaning is in your own life. So just for a moment, I want you to pretend that you're a starfish, that you're a tropical sea star, and you're living deep in the ocean floor. And during your life, as you're trying to survive, you encounter obstacles and conflicts. And maybe one of the worst of these occurs when an underwater tsunami pushes you into a sharp coral crevice and it snags and severs one of your arms. Now, because as a starfish, your eyes are located at the tip of each of your 5 arms, you're left with a vision impairment. You've lost the eye that sat at the tip of that lost limb. And so you cannot see as well as you used to. But then, to your own surprise, at the very spot of that phantom missing part, buds are sprouting. You notice that you're regenerating. You regrow the lost limb, as all starfish are inclined to do, but you are actually someone special. And because you are such a prolific and holy creature, instead of restoring one missing arm, you grow 2. Where there had been 5, there are now 6. You are now, in fact, a starfish with 6 eyes. Even on the best of days gone by, you only had 5. And now you have completed a surprising metamorphosis of who you are. Now you're a miraculous visionary, a being who uses flashes of luminosity to communicate. Oh yeah, and that's because all that time you spent in the dark of the ocean floor, you were actually becoming bioluminescent, meaning you can use flashes of your light to communicate with others, to communicate with your family, your buddies, and most especially potential mates, if you choose. The grand design we're now entering into is what in astrology we call a grand trine. That is 3 planets in a perfect harmonious alignment, such that there is synergy between the 3 of them, each magnifying and assisting the work of the other. So the 3 archetypes that Uranus now becomes the 3rd, but the first of these 3 was Pluto in Capricorn since 2008. And he was asking for transformation, And then Uranus, March of 2011, went into that fiery Aries, and they were at odds. And so the 7 years that we are now completing, in the time in which the tension we felt, and we saw this in our world, between our rebellious desire to break free of limitations, at the same time trying to cling to what we thought was safe and trying to cling to old traditional beliefs, whether they worked or not. And now the Uranus is in the sign of Taurus. That whole internal angst settles down. Now, the challenge with Uranus and with the god of lightning and Taurus, is that our attachment to material things can become a limitation to our freedom. So now, I would say that Taurus may inspire. The challenge to watch for with Uranus in earthy Taurus is that we may feel impatient with a slow, steady movement, that's Taurus's cup of tea. But the god of lightning is unfamiliar with such patience, as people like me are, and we may feel the urge to change things too quickly. So watch for that in yourself and on the world stage, especially when it comes to woefully unproductive personal habits, as well as institutions in business and government, because many people may find themselves stubbornly dug in to the materialism of our culture. And so high on the agenda for the next few years will be how we use money and resources. Because the god of lightning by his nature is a freedom fighter and a rebel. But if he is inhibited or frustrated in that expression by Taurus sort of insisting on safety and security and collecting valuables, etc., then we will not get to enjoy this grand design of harmonious planets as much. One last note about the road ahead here, especially beginning this Sunday, March 10th, when the big planets are all in Earth for this grand trine, their effects can be subtle until they are triggered by a planet that is closer to us and therefore a little more personal. So that brings me to the lovers, Venus and Mars. Let me just quickly say that for most of March, they are not on the same sheet of music because Venus is up in the library reading books about love, while Mars is hardworking and tilling the soil in earthy Taurus. But he is going to trigger the grand trine 3 times. The first this Sunday, March 10th, when he makes a sweet friendship with a visionary Neptune. And so that's taking action on your epiphanies, doing something about what you pray for. And the second one comes at the time of the first quarter moon in Gemini, March 14th. Mars then is going to be lending a helping hand to Sheriff Saturn in Capricorn. So that's integrity and sobriety checkpoints that carry warnings we actually do need to hear. And then the third one, which is very powerful, comes on the full moon in Libra, March the 20th, which is the spring equinox, the same day the sun goes into Aries. And on that day also, Mars makes the most powerful of the 3 meetups when he digs deep with the help of the Lord of the Underworld, Pluto in Capricorn. So we can expect the unearthing of things that will heal in the light very easily. So all of that is bound to give us a brand new landscape and fertile ground for planting something new. I love the quote from Leonardo da Vinci that I came across when I was thinking of what to tell you this week. He said, "I have been impressed with the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Being willing is not enough. We must do." Sort of a little bit like Yoda. Even though there's an awkwardness about having lightning bolts in the house of money, the good news is that in the 7 years ahead, we can make money, we can be very successful in unusual ways by utilizing our most offbeat ideas, especially in the digital world. So lots more about that next time. We are in the raining, snowing season of the final 2 weeks of winter. And I'm aware of the phenomenon of belief we all have agreed upon, even though we can see only clouds right now. We collectively believe we know the moon and the stars are still there, unseen. So can't we just as easily believe the same thing of love? That love is always there, eternally there, even in our darkest hours. Thanks for listening, and take notes. We have more coming next week about this beautiful grand design. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.